Christina. Thank you so much for joining us to have a nice conversation today to talk about your campaign, your candidacy, and also get that information out to voters.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and start off real quick. Can you share a bit about your background? What inspired you to run for Erie County Executive?
Yes, so I have been here about 12 years. We moved here in 2013. My husband took a job at Erie Insurance. That's why we moved here. So when we moved here, my kids were 2, 5, and 6. They are now 14, 17, and 18. I came from a small town in central Illinois. My mom left when I was 6 weeks old. And so my dad moved my brother and himself into my grandparents' house at the farm. And I was raised by a single dad and my grandparents, but really it was the entire community that stepped up to do that. And so I had people that kind of shepherded me along the way. So I had my friends' parents, my family, people I had a bus driver, people, teachers, and all kinds of people that kind of stepped in and did all these different things for me. From I remember helping me buy a plane ticket once, helping me with going to different events, taking me places, driving me places, really all these different amazing things. And so having a strong community was really important to me. So I graduated from high school. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration with a minor in economics from Illinois Wesleyan University, an MBA and a master's degree in journalism from the University of Illinois. Got married, have 3 kids. We moved here. We didn't know a single person. And so I intentionally wanted to create a strong foundation for my kids because I knew how important that was for me. And so I joined the PTO immediately. I was a member of the Fairview Elementary School PTO for 10 years. I was a treasurer for 4. I was a Girl Scout troop leader for 4 years. I started Donato's with the intention of building community, and I'm on the board of the community college. So all of these different things that I've done was to create a community. And for the last 2.5 years, I've watched how the current county executive has kind of ripped apart the fabric of that community. And so it was very important to me to be able to step in and try to make a difference with that. We tell our kids to be the change, to make a difference, to do the right thing. And so I felt if there was any opportunity for my children to be able to stay here and grow and thrive, then we needed to fix what was happening at the county executive's office.
Yeah, that's a great story. So you talked a lot about community. You're a mom of 3 teenagers, like you mentioned. You're a leader in the community. You've built your career, through Donato's as a small business owner. You're on the board of the community college. How do those experiences, shape your approach to running for county executive, and how will that shape your leadership style, if you're elected in the next 3 weeks?
So in all the positions I've ever had, I would say that I am not a micromanager. I very much try to bring in people that are going to be true advocates for the people that are there and really make good decisions. For me, it is all about working with other people. It is about collaborating. It is about trying to figure out where the gaps are and how do we get better together. And that's what I've done in so many places. In fact, on my way here, I was just talking to, I won't divulge it, but I'm meeting with an organization downtown to see how we can partner with Donato's and another business, again, to help improve everybody, right? And so that is, I think, for me, it is all about working together and is about aligning all of the goals so that we can amplify what is happening.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the examples, I guess, of like the chaos and division that maybe some people have been seeing over the last few years that you specifically would want to address in your first year or so on the job?
So when you think about what has happened in the last 3.5 years, there have been 8 lawsuits to date. The current county executive is not able to work with anyone. He is currently fighting with the courts, the DA, all in his own office. That another article just came out today about that. The city of Erie, Diverse Erie, the Economic Development Department, many, many other things, right? I mean, we have the land out near where I live, out in Fairview, the library, all these different areas that have been contentious. What I think that I can do is really bring people together, listen, do the actual hard work to bring all the stakeholders in. What has happened is that he doesn't talk to anyone else. And so when that happens, all of the stakeholders are slighted, right? And so they feel like, well, why didn't I have an opportunity to make a contribution to this? And so instead of listening to anyone, he believes he has the right answer. He just charges ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that speaks a lot. And so I kind of what I heard from that is, should you be elected in one of your first days in office, like is mending that relationship with county council and these organizations going to be a top priority for you in those first few months?
Yes, especially county council, because, you know, I feel like what he misses is that there are 8 elected officials based on the home rule charter, right? That are duly elected by the people of Erie County, and all of them together form the backbone of how everything gets done. The 7 members of county council and the county executive, and the 7 members of county council hold the purse strings. And he cannot work with any of them. And so this idea of unilaterally doing whatever you want is how we got into the division of where we are now. And I think that all that does is create dysfunction, waste money. We have increased the amount of fees that we've had to pay for the solicitors on both sides. We've had payouts that we've had to pay. And Erie County does not have the luxury of an abundance of tax dollars. Every tax dollar is precious and needs to be spent wisely. And wasting anything is just a slap in the face to all the hardworking people that work here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that speaks to a lot of what the concerns people have. You kind of touched on fiscal responsibility. I know in your campaign platform, that's a big piece of it is trying to correct the county finances and get us back to a place of prosperity. What specific steps would you take to ensure that our tax dollars are spent wisely and transparently, and we avoid, wasting these in the future?
Right. So that's a good question. So when you think about the budget now, the county executive just put forth his budget for 2026 as of October 1st. And again, when you look at that budget, I'll say on a simplified level. So the revenues are going down, the controllable expenses are going up. He has put back every single thing into the budget that the county councils have sued him for in the previous 3 budgets. So there will be continuous, ongoing litigation with that. And so what we need to do, the home rule charter is very clear that you submit a balanced budget where the revenues equal the expenses. Not one single time has the county executive done that. Every single time he has used money from the general fund. He calls it the rainy day fund. It is not the rainy day fund. It is money that has been put away for decades by previous administration. And because he cannot balance the budget, he is wasting that money that could be used if we had an open dialogue to go to other things that would benefit the people of the county. And really, it is about making sure that every dollar is used correctly. It's not, another thing that happens is that he is continuously bringing forth appropriations later in the year instead of budgeting them out and trying to fix the numbers so that it looks like it's in a better situation than it is. And all that does is erode the trust with the people in the community and waste dollars.
What are some examples of those misappropriations you're talking about?
So, for example, one of the things, and I brought this up in the primary, is the overtime for the prison, right? So in the primary, they had already spent 113% of that allocated budget. If you look at the budget that was submitted, the expectation is that they will spend just over $2 million in overtime for 2025. But he only has $600,000 allocated for overtime for 2026, knowing full well that is never going to be a reality, but you have to pay the people there. So you have to come up with that money later.
So does that money come from our general fund?
Well, it'll have to come from somewhere, either the general fund or from other places, or trying to eliminate other things that are happening. But it is a false narrative to say that this is the reality, what's going to happen. Every year you can go back and look at how much they've spent. It's just trying to bake the narrative to say that this is what's going to happen when it's not.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit about partnerships as being like a key piece for how we can solve these problems, at a regional level. Can you explain what that means as far as building partnerships with county government and outside of county government, with businesses and nonprofits and educational institutions? Are there specific groups you want to partner with? But yeah, feel free to expand upon that.
Sure. So what I would say is that right now we have a county executive is going his own way. He's actively in competition with other economic development departments, and everybody else is trying to move Erie County this way. So he's going this way, everybody else is going this way. And if he could just be on the same team instead of being an adversary for everyone, we could move things forward. But because it is the county executive's role and they have the connection, they are, money comes from the state and the federal government through the county. The roadblocks that he's managed to put up cause problems everywhere else and all these entities that have been trying to make real progress for Erie County and create jobs and move the county forward.
Yeah, speaking to your role on the community college, do you think there's an area where we can continue to build upon the momentum that we've seen in the last 4 years with that as a workforce development institution or economic driver?
Right. So the community college has really delivered the results that people wanted. Right. So when you think about the community college, the reason that we brought it here, that we needed to have it here, is that all of your taxes were going down. So there were 14 community colleges in the state of Pennsylvania. Now there are 15. So before the money was divvied up 14 ways, and now it's divvied up 15 ways. So this is money that we never would have gotten back in another way, right? And so now we have this community college. We have the opportunity to change the lives of the people that are here. One of the ways so right now we have about 820 students that are enrolled right now, which is above our estimates for this semester. We are working on getting financial aid so that the students that we estimate that over 80% of the students in Erie County that go to the community college would be Pell eligible, meaning that they could get money back from taking, so they would apply for Pell Grants, get the Pell Grants, and any excess from the community college would be able to go back to them. A lot of the programs actually at the community college, almost all of them are now WIOA eligible, so that if you have WIOA funding, if you are laid off, you can take classes and you can use that money to go to the community college. And being able to expand those workforce development programs that we have is something that the community college is really invested in right now. How do we set up the county, the jobs of the future and the jobs of today, to make sure that we have the right people in the right jobs, so that we have the employment opportunities to bring people out of poverty, which is where so many of the issues that I feel like are concentrated in Erie County exist, is this is the lack of economic mobility for people.
Yeah, and that's a good segue actually for my next question, because I think a lack of workforce contributes to this particular issue. But as it relates to emergency medical services and what we're seeing across the county with the shortages that some people are experiencing, what would be your plan to kind of address that? I know it's different than what the current county executive has proposed, so I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, so so EMS is an important issue, right? And it's something that this county executive has talked about the entire time, and yet has continued to fracture what it currently exists. I live in Fairview. I have a business in Harbor Creek. Obviously, no matter where you live, you want to be able to have an accident. You want to be able to call 911 and have something happen and get it there in a reasonable amount of time. But right now, there is so many different fractions that we need to bring everyone together and listen to what's working and how we can best, utilize the resources that are there, and not reinvent the wheel, and see, okay, if this is working in this part of the county, how do we translate that into how do we make these things happen in other parts of the county, right? I mean, there's no reason to have multiple fiefdoms that are trying to do the same type of thing, and those counties that have already, those organizations that have already figured it out, we should be able to listen to them and duplicate what works well.
Yeah, and that approach, that's based off of actual conversations you've had, right, with these organizations.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, we're getting a little close, but I just have two more questions for you. So 4 years from now, right, looking back, let's say you get elected and it's the end of your first term, what would you want voters to look at as an example of a successful first term under the Vogel administration?
Really, I want people to look back at where they are, look back and believe that their lives are better, that they are in a better place, that they feel better about where they are in Erie County, that we have managed to reduce the temperature in the room and work together to kind of systematically and methodically tackle each of the challenges that come our way, instead of creating more, which is what this county executive has done. I believe we have the resources and the ability and the people that are here to really make real change in Erie County. And I just think we need to get the team together in a cohesive way, going in the same direction.
Fantastic. All right, we got a couple seconds left. Is there anything else you want to say to the voters and the people watching?
I just want to say, I'm so grateful that I've met so many of you all across the county in the last 7 months, and I would ask for your vote on November 4th.
All right. Thank you so much. I think this was fantastic.